Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here again with another review for you. This time I'm reviewing episode 23 of season 1 of Young Justice, titled Insecurities. Okay, first of all, let's start off with Black Spider, the assassin guy we have at the very beginning. A very funny riff on Spider-Man, of course. This is the first time I've ever encountered this character. From what I've read, he's apparently a very minor character in the comics. But like Sportsmaster and Mr. Twister, and to a degree Count Vertigo, the Young Justice team has dusted him off, given him up a grade, and made him quite cool and interesting. And apparently voiced by the guy who did the voice of him on the short-lived but fairly solid Spectacular Spider-Man show from a few years back. So, that's a nice little shout out to all the fans out there of comics and Spider-Man and, superhero animation in general. Now, with that said, let's get on to the real meat of the story, and that being Artemis. This is such an Artemis episode. And here is the part, this is an episode where things really start to come to a head for her. And I'm really happy that this episode was written by Peter David, who I'm sure a lot of you know was the writer of the actual Young Justice comics for us many years back in the 90s. I actually was reading the comics back in the 90s. I was never a huge Young Justice reader, though. It just wasn't what I was looking for at the time. I did read some issues here and there, and I thought it was solid enough, but just a little too lighthearted at times for my personal taste. It kind of played to okay, I love Peter David as a writer. He's written many very good books, many excellent comics, and episodes of several TV shows that I've enjoyed. But like every writer, he has his flaws, and I think one of his main ones is he gets a little too wrapped up in his own sense of humor and just doesn't quite get that the people who are watching or reading or whatever are going to find the things as funny as he does. But again, this is me kind of my problem with the comic book that stopped being published a long time ago, so let's get back to the episode. But speaking of Peter David, one thing that he is very good at is taking the whole be careful what you wish for, you just might get it, or the very bitter, painful irony, and using that to just stab characters in the heart. And boy, does Artemis get the treatment in this episode. But first of all, let's sort of talk about the moment with her and Wally at the very beginning. Now, as we've seen over the course of the season, especially in the Cold-Hearted episode, Wally has matured a lot over the course of this season. And out of everybody on the team, he's the only one who notices and realizes just how insecure Red Arrow joining the team must make Artemis feel. And he says to her exactly what she needs to hear, exactly when she needs to hear it. It's a real step forward. It's a wonderful little bonding moment in their relationship. You could see, and this is how I felt when I was watching it, that this could be a big step towards them becoming something more. The tension and all this other stuff kind of that we've had seen over the past season. And again, it also goes back to what Black Canary said to Artemis in the therapy session episode. She caught Artemis saying that Wally's opinion of her, out of anybody else on the team, is the one that matters the most to her. So Artemis being told that, then and there, that was, really a godsend for her, given her state of mind and what was going on. And then at the very end, after the fight with Sportsmaster and Jade and the mission goes south and everything fails, Artemis is stuck with the choice of either telling her friends the truth and letting them know that not only is she the daughter of a villain and the sister of a villain, but that she's been lying to them all this time for months. Or she can basically continue to lie to them and seem like a big selfish jerk. And that's what she chooses. And it's Wally, the person who, just a couple of hours before had been supporting her emotionally when she needed it the most. He's the one who steps up and throws everything right back in her face. And she can't do anything but stand there and take it. I mean, how must she have felt when he basically holds up that tracer and says to her, no, this is the souvenir that we should be keeping for this mission. I mean, he's basically saying, yeah, we're going to slap the fact that you screwed up everything because of your own intense selfishness, and we're just going to basically hang it on the wall. And the really sad thing about this all is, I don't think Artemis even realizes that even if they do stop Sportsmaster and Cheshire, if they capture them, there's nothing in the world that's going to stop either one of them from going, okay, you got me. By the way, Artemis is my daughter, or hey, Artemis is my sister. I mean, Cheshire even basically points this out to her when she shows up and says, and I think this is word for word, hey sis, long time no, tell your friends who you really are. I mean, again, what in the world is Artemis thinking? But, you know, this is a bad decision, but it's a realistic decision. I can see someone making this mistake. And again, Artemis is only 16 years old. God knows I made well, okay, I guess maybe not the whole, you know, potentially putting other people's lives in danger, but I certainly made my share of extraordinarily stupid decisions when I was 16 years old. So it's a bad decision, but it's one that, in terms of both storytelling and emotion, rings true. Now let's talk. I got some notes written down, like I usually do. So this is what I'm doing when I'm looking off to the side here. So let's talk about a couple of other things. One thing I still don't quite understand, and you know, if this is something I missed in an episode, please point this out to me. What exactly is it that Cheshire is doing, working for the light? You know, what are they offering her that will make her work with her father, who she flat out wants to kill? You know, I hope that really gets made clear in case I've missed it somewhere along the line. What else? Okay, one thing that I have to sing the praises for in this episode is that the action sequences, the fights, brutal. I mean, this was wonderfully, I don't know if I can exactly say realistic, but it made me feel like I was watching a really, really well done, well choreographed action movie. You know, top-notch action movie. You know, my hat is so completely off to the production team. You know, Young Justice has had great animation, great fights, but I think this is probably the best fight we've seen all season, and I loved it. You know, even though this is kind of superheroes and things going on, it just felt like a very realistic fight to me. So, let's see. Another thing now that I'd like to mention that wasn't entirely clear to me, and again, if I missed something, you know, kind of clear this up for me in the comments if you would. What exactly was going on with Professor Ivo? Okay, he breaks out of jail. He leaves behind the robotic duplicate. He does, you know, whatever it is he's doing for the light. And then he turns up back in Bel Rev, and they say, like, yeah, Professor Ivo, you know, he kind of had a robot running around that fooled us for a while, but he's in his cell, so nothing to worry about. Why the heck isn't anybody, like, worrying, like, what the heck was Ivo up to while he had a robot in his cell, while we were all fooled by this robot? Now, granted, as far as they know, he never left the prison, but should they be a little concerned that he might have been, like, rigging a bomb somewhere? I mean, yeah, again, yes, Hugo Strange is the warden. Yes, he's working for the light. But again, this just sort of seems like something that people should be taking a little bit more seriously. Okay, and let's see. Another thing, the one thing that I really didn't like about this episode was the B-plot with Red Tornado. And it's not that it just really kind of felt, you know, tacked on to sort of fill up some time. And, you know, the whole Red Tornado, secret identity, John Smith thing, you know, it feels like it might become important later on, but, you know, the payoff to that is basically saying, Zatanna saying, yeah, your little Ken doll body needs to put on some pants. Really? Excuse me. After all of that, that's the best joke we can get? I mean, I'm sorry, but Peter David, he's a very, very funny writer. And I know he can do better than that. But speaking of that, I just want to take a moment to give a little bit of a shout out to how much I love Lacey Chabert as Zatanna. I really hope she continues to do more voice acting work because she's also the character Mako in Star Wars: The Old Republic, the MMO, and I really enjoy her character there. So my hat's off to Lacey Chabert as Zatanna as well. Looks like I got a little bit more time than I had anticipated, so let's take a second to talk about Red Arrow, Speedy. As long as I'm giving out kudos, I have to give some out to Crispin Freeman. He's a guy with, a resume as a voice actor that is as good as it gets. I love the guy. I've actually seen him in person at Anime Central in Chicago several years ago, and he's actually a very fun guy to listen to and talk to. But yeah, he's a great actor. Zelgadis Grey Words and Slayers, Alucard and Hellsing, so much great stuff. And he's really bringing it all to Red Arrow. I'm really enjoying him as a character. Although, I'm kind of wondering, I just have this feeling that it's sort of, okay, they basically said, okay, we'll take Red Arrow in the Justice League, but first we want him to prove himself by him hanging out with these kids for a while. Okay, if the whole thing is, at the end of the other episode where they ask, who is it that we trust? Why does Red Arrow have to go and hang out with the Young Justice guys for a while if the Justice League has already said we trust him? I mean, sure, he was a dick in the first episode for a while, but, seriously, Batman has a pretty big track record, in the comics and other things, of being a dick, and the Justice League is pretty much always glad to have Batman around. My personal theory on this is, if the rumors I've been hearing are true that somebody on the team is going to die before the season is out, this kind of leads me to think it's going to be Red Arrow. Because I just can't see them actually killing one of the kids. Again, that's just my theory on things. The way the world works, I'll probably, turn out to be wrong, or, they'll kill Red Tornado, and who cares? Yeah, I'm not really that jazzed about the Red Tornado, to be perfectly honest. Okay, well, I'm almost out of time here, guys. So thanks for watching. I'll try and do more of these Young Justice reviews. In the meantime, please comment, rate, and subscribe. As always, until next time, stay cool, everyone. See ya.